Imagine having everything stripped away. Your work, your family, your name, your future. Imagine waking up in a place designed to erase you. No control over your body, no certainty about tomorrow, no guarantee you will survive the week. Now imagine finding meaning there. Not comfort, not happiness, meaning. This is not a motivational story, it is a confrontation, because if a human being can discover purpose in a concentration camp, then the problem most of us face is not circumstance. It is interpretation. Before we go further, understand something. This channel is not about quick inspiration. It is about learning how to think when life becomes difficult. If that is what you are here for, subscribe. Not for entertainment, for clarity. Now let's step into the real question. Why do some people collapse under pressure while others deepen? Why do some lose direction when life becomes uncertain, while others grow more focused? Viktor Frankl faced that question in the most extreme conditions imaginable. In Nazi concentration camps, he observed something unsettling. The strongest did not always survive. The healthiest did not always endure. Intelligence did not guarantee resilience. What separated those who psychologically survived from those who gave up was one thing: meaning. Not abstract philosophy, not optimism. A reason to continue. Frankl noticed that prisoners who had a future-oriented purpose, something unfinished, someone waiting for them, a responsibility not yet fulfilled, carried themselves differently. Even in starvation, even in humiliation, they suffered the same external reality, but internally they were anchored. This matters more than most people realize. Today, we are not standing in labor camps. We are standing in traffic, in offices, in routines, and yet the emotional language sounds similar. I don't know what I'm doing. What's the point? I feel empty. I'm just existing. This is what psychologists call existential vacuum, a life filled with activity but drained of meaning. Frankl's insight was simple, but it disrupts modern thinking. You do not need one grand life purpose to feel alive. You need a specific reason for this season. In the camps, Frankl survived by focusing on 3 concrete commitments. He wanted to rewrite the manuscript that had been taken from him. He wanted to see his wife again. He wanted to psychologically support fellow prisoners. None of those were guaranteed, but they were directional. That direction gave structure to suffering. This is the first correction most people need to make. Stop searching for one massive permanent purpose that explains your entire life. That pressure paralyzes you. Instead, ask, what is required of me right now? Meaning is not a lifetime contract. It is a daily responsibility. Frankl later described 3 pathways to meaning. The first is contribution. What you give. This does not require fame or scale. It requires responsibility. Improving a system at work. Being reliable for your family. Creating something useful. Teaching what you know. Contribution stabilizes identity. When you give, you are needed. When you are needed, your life has weight. The second is experience. What you receive deeply. Connection, beauty, love, presence. Even in the camps, Frankl mentally conversed with his wife while marching in freezing weather. He described moments where contemplating her face gave him strength. Nothing external changed. Internally, everything shifted. Meaning is not only built through effort, it is also built through attention. A conversation where you truly listen. A walk without your phone. Music that moves you. These are not luxuries, they are psychological anchors. The third path is the most difficult. Attitude towards suffering. You cannot control every event. You can control the interpretation. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a gap. Inside that gap is freedom. Most people never experience that freedom because they react automatically. Traffic irritates you. You explode internally. Criticism appears. You defend instantly. Plans change. You resent. Automatic reaction feels powerful, but it is weakness. The pause is power. Frankl wrote that even in a camp, a man could choose dignity. He could choose whether he would become bitter or purposeful. This is not about pretending pain does not exist. It is about refusing to let pain dictate identity. Here is where modern life confuses people. We pursue happiness directly. We ask, how can I feel better? What will make me happy? How do I remove discomfort? Frankl observed something counterintuitive. The more directly you chase happiness, the more it retreats. Happiness is a byproduct. It emerges when you live aligned with meaning. When you contribute, connect, and respond consciously, happiness appears as a side effect. When you hunt it directly, it becomes fragile. This is why people with money, status, and comfort still feel empty. Comfort is not meaning. Pleasure is not direction. Growth is. Research decades later supports this. Studies show that people who live with a clear sense of purpose report lower stress, stronger resilience, and even longer lifespans. Why? Because purpose organizes suffering. Without meaning, pain feels random. With meaning, pain feels integrated. If you are drifting right now, do not ask what will make you excited. Ask what requires you. Who needs you more disciplined? What responsibility have you avoided? What unfinished task deserves your effort? Meaning is not found in comfort. It is found in obligation willingly accepted. The critical shift is this: you are not waiting for better circumstances to live meaningfully. You are choosing meaning inside your current circumstances. That choice is available today, but choosing it requires something most people avoid: responsibility. And this is where the deeper work begins. Responsibility sounds heavy. Most people hear that word and feel pressure. They associate it with obligation, stress, sacrifice. But responsibility, properly understood, is stabilizing. When you accept responsibility for your response, you regain control over your inner world. That is not abstract philosophy, it is psychological structure. Frankl described what he called the space between stimulus and response. Something happens, an insult, a setback, a loss. There is a gap before you react. In that gap lies your freedom. Most people never experience that gap. They react automatically. A coworker criticizes them, they shut down or attack. Traffic slows, they rage. A relationship ends, they collapse into identity loss. The reaction feels immediate, almost involuntary. But what Frankl discovered under extreme suffering was that the gap can be widened, not eliminated, widened. And when it widens, you gain leverage over your life. This is where meaning becomes practical. You cannot control external events. You cannot prevent all disappointment. You cannot design a life without friction. But you can train your response. Most people do not suffer only from events, they suffer from interpretation. A missed promotion becomes, I'm not good enough. A failed project becomes, I always mess things up. A breakup becomes, I'm unlovable. These are not facts, they are conclusions. Frankl saw prisoners who interpreted suffering as proof of defeat. He also saw prisoners who interpreted suffering as a test of character. The environment was identical. The interpretation was not, and interpretation determines psychological survival. This does not mean romanticizing pain. It does not mean denying injustice. It means refusing to surrender the last domain you truly own. Your attitude. Today you are unlikely to face the brutality Frankl endured, but you will face disappointment. You will face loss. You will face uncertainty. The question is not whether suffering appears. The question is whether you collapse into it or construct meaning around it. Try something simple. The next time irritation rises, do not suppress it. Do not justify it. Pause. 5 seconds. Breathe once. Ask yourself, what response aligns with the person I am becoming? That question shifts you from reaction to intention. Over time, that shift compounds. Small responses define character. Character defines trajectory. There is another uncomfortable truth. Many people secretly prefer chaos. Not because they enjoy pain, but because chaos removes responsibility. If everything is overwhelming, you are a victim. If everything is unfair, you are justified in stagnation. Meaning removes that escape. If you accept that you can choose your response, then you must choose. That is demanding. Frankl did not leave the camps bitter. He left with a framework. He argued that life is not primarily a search for pleasure. It is a search for meaning. And meaning often demands something from you. What is life asking of you right now? Not what do you want from life, what is required of you. This shift changes everything. When you ask what you want, you center comfort. When you ask what is required, you center growth. Growth builds stability, comfort builds fragility. Modern culture emphasizes happiness as the highest goal. But happiness without structure dissolves quickly. Meaning creates structure, and structure holds you when emotion fluctuates. You will not feel motivated every day. You will not wake up inspired. You will not enjoy every responsibility, but meaning does not depend on mood. It depends on commitment. If you choose to live meaningfully, you will sometimes feel discomfort. You will sometimes feel fatigue. You will sometimes feel doubt, but you will not feel empty. And emptiness is the more dangerous state, because emptiness invites distraction, addiction, and self-sabotage. Meaning invites discipline. The paradox is this: when you stop chasing happiness directly and instead focus on responsibility, contribution, and conscious response, happiness begins to appear naturally. Not constantly, not perfectly, but steadily. You do not need perfect circumstances. You need clarity. Clarity about what matters now. Clarity about how you respond to friction. Clarity about what responsibility you are willing to carry. And that clarity is not theoretical. It shows up in how you speak, how you work, how you treat people, how you handle setbacks. If meaning can be built in extreme suffering, then it can certainly be built in ordinary difficulty. The real question is not whether meaning is available. It is whether you are willing to accept the discipline required to live by it. And that leads to the final confrontation, not with the world, with yourself. The final confrontation is not dramatic. It does not arrive with noise or spectacle. It happens quietly, usually in the morning, when you wake up and realize that no one is coming to assign your life meaning. No circumstance will automatically give it to you. No amount of money guarantees it. No recognition secures it. Meaning is chosen. And that choice carries weight. Frankl did not claim that life becomes easy when you discover purpose. He argued the opposite. When you accept responsibility for your response, you remove your last excuse. You are no longer drifting. You are accountable. That is uncomfortable at first. It is easier to say, "I'll change when things improve." It is easier to say, "I'll act when I feel motivated." It is easier to blame exhaustion, timing, or other people. But if you accept that meaning is constructed through contribution, experience, and attitude, then every day becomes active. You are either building it or eroding it. This is where most people hesitate. They want transformation without tension. They want clarity without commitment. They want purpose without discipline. But discipline is simply sustained responsibility. It is choosing your response repeatedly until it becomes character. Frankl's insight was not mystical. It was practical. Even when he had no control over food, safety, or freedom, he retained control over one thing: his interpretation. And that interpretation determined his inner stability. You are not in a camp. You are in a world of choices, which means the responsibility is greater, not smaller. You cannot say there are no options. You cannot say you are completely powerless. You can choose how you respond to pressure. You can choose what responsibility you accept. You can choose what direction you walk in, even if progress is slow. The discipline required is subtle. It is not about grand gestures. It is about daily alignment. When you wake up, ask, what is required of me today? Not what would feel good, not what would impress others, what is required. Sometimes that will mean finishing difficult work. Sometimes it will mean having an honest conversation. Sometimes it will mean staying silent instead of reacting. Sometimes it will mean resting intentionally rather than escaping. Meaning is not dramatic. It is steady. The world will still disappoint you. You will still experience frustration. You will still feel anger, fear, uncertainty. But those emotions do not define you. Your response does. The space between stimulus and response is small at first. It feels almost invisible. But every time you pause and choose deliberately, that space widens. Over time, that widening becomes strength. People often ask why some individuals remain grounded under stress while others unravel. The answer is not luck, it is training. Training the mind to pause, training the self to respond instead of react, training identity around responsibility rather than comfort. Meaning is not found once, it is practiced. Each time you choose responsibility over avoidance, you reinforce it. Each time you contribute instead of withdraw, you strengthen it. Each time you endure difficulty without collapsing into self-pity, you deepen it. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming consistent. And consistency builds dignity. There is something powerful about looking at your own life and knowing that, regardless of circumstances, you chose to respond with intention. Not because it was easy, because it was yours. Frankl proved that even in the most dehumanizing environment imaginable, a person could retain inner freedom. You have far more external freedom than he did. The question is whether you are using it. Stop waiting for ideal conditions. Stop waiting for permanent motivation. Stop waiting for certainty. Choose one responsibility today. Accept it fully. Respond deliberately when friction appears. Contribute in one meaningful way. And when discomfort rises, remember this. Meaning is not discovered in comfort. It is constructed in choice. Your life is not waiting for inspiration. It is waiting for ownership. The space between stimulus and response is still there. Step into it and build from there.